It began with silence. Not the peaceful kind, but the kind that leaves a pit in your stomach, the kind that stretches too long and suddenly feels like a warning. On the morning of September 1st, 2019, Emma Browning stopped answering her phone. No calls, no texts, no explanation. For the first few hours, her daughter Helen tried to dismiss it. Maybe her mother was resting. Maybe the phone had died. But by nightfall, doubt gave way to dread. Emma never disappeared. She was the kind of woman who showed up early, prepared, dependable. The kind who called if she was going to be 10 minutes late. And now, nothing. By the second day, their silence became unbearable. Helen called again, left voicemails, drove by the house. The car was there, but her mother wasn't. Something was wrong, deeply wrong. Emma Browning was more than a mother. She was a fighter, a woman who had raised 2 children on her own, worked 16-hour days, and still found time to pack lunches and say, "I love you," every night. She didn't just vanish. And yet, on that day, she did. And there was one unsettling detail no one could shake. The last person to see Emma Browning alive was her son. His name was Daniel Jr., DJ, 17 years old. He lived with Emma, and when Helen asked him where their mother had gone, his answers didn't match. Each time, a different story, each one colder than the last. This isn't just a case of a missing woman. It's the unraveling of a family, a mother gone, a daughter desperate, a son holding secrets, and a question no one wants to ask, but everyone fears the answer to. What if the danger wasn't outside the home? What if it lived in the room next door? If you consider to support my channel, please hit the subscribe button because it's a big means of encouragement. Long before she vanished, long before anyone whispered the word murder, Emma Browning was already surviving a life most people couldn't imagine. She was born into hardship, raised by parents who taught her to endure quietly, to make do, to carry weight without complaint, and for most of her life, she did just that. Her first marriage to a man named Thomas brought her Rebecca, a wide-eyed little girl who clung to her mother's legs and called her mama with fierce pride. But the marriage didn't last. The love faded, the partnership crumbled, and Emma, barely 30, was left alone to raise a daughter with no money and no help. She took what she could find. During the day, she worked as a secretary at a local elementary school, organizing files, answering phones, wiping blood off knees. At night, she clocked into the records room at a nearby hospital, filing lab reports until her eyes stung from the fluorescent lights. 2 jobs, 1 woman, 16 hours a day. For years, there were days she came home and collapsed fully clothed on the couch. Nights when the fridge held only eggs and discount cereal. But Rebecca never missed a birthday, never went to school in torn shoes. Somehow, Emma made it work, and then she fell in love again. Her second marriage was short-lived, but brought her a son, Daniel Jr., DJ. For a while there was hope. Emma believed her family was whole again, but DJ was different. Even as a toddler, he challenged her. He didn't cry like most babies. He screamed. He didn't ask. He demanded. There was a darkness in his eyes that Emma couldn't explain or reach. As DJ grew, so did the chaos. He struggled to follow rules. Through violent tantrums, bitter teacher in kindergarten was suspended from 2 different high schools. Before his 16th birthday, Emma tried therapy, tried discipline, tried prayer. Nothing stuck. She was fighting for 2 children in 2 different worlds. Rebecca, the responsible one, the calm one. the daughter she leaned on, and DJ, the storm, the boy who needed more than Emma had to give, who drained her spirit, who frightened her in ways she didn't want to admit, not even to herself. But still, she fought. She worked. She stayed. She was exhausted, broken, and still showing up every day. And as the years passed, she grew more and more afraid of the boy she had once cradled in her arms. A mother torn between pride and fear, between loyalty and survival, and in the end, she would pay the highest price for both. Daniel Jr. was never an easy child. Even in daycare, there were warnings. Other parents whispered. Teachers made notes. There were outbursts, broken toys, sudden silences followed by screams. By the time DJ was 5, Emma was already on a first-name basis with the school principal. They said he had anger issues, possible attention disorders, maybe something more. Emma tried everything: therapy, special diets, bedtime routines, visual schedules taped to the fridge, parenting books stacked beside her pillow, half read at 2 a.m. after working 16 hours straight. But nothing changed. By elementary school, the incidents escalated. DJ flipped desks, threw books, threatened classmates. One time, he locked himself in a supply closet and wouldn't come out until police were called. Emma was exhausted, but she kept trying. Love, patience, structure, bribes, punishments. Still, DJ slipped further away. At 13, he punched a hall monitor. At 14, he shoved a teacher down a flight of stairs. At 15, he brought a sharpened screwdriver to school. When they asked why, he said it was for protection, but no one believed him. 2 expulsions, dozens of suspensions, and through it all, one woman trying to keep her child from falling into darkness. Emma. But even she had limits. The night DJ slammed a door hard enough to crack the frame, Emma stood in her kitchen, hands shaking, eyes burning, and whispered something she never thought she'd say. "I can't do this anymore," she called Thomas, her ex-husband, DJ's father. They hadn't spoken much since the divorce. He had moved on, rebuilt. But he agreed. DJ would come live with him. For Emma, it felt like failure, but also a kind of survival. She packed DJ's bags, drove him across state lines, hugged him outside his father's apartment with tears in her eyes, and then she drove home alone. Her house was quiet for the first time in years, and she hated how peaceful it felt. Sometimes love isn't enough. Sometimes survival means surrender. She told herself it was temporary, that DJ just needed structure, a change, a father figure. But deep down she wondered if she was giving him one last chance, or saving herself from what he might become. For the first few weeks, there was hope. When DJ moved to Georgia to live with his father, Daniel Sr., there was structure, rules, boundaries. No more late-night video games, no more skipped classes, no more chaos. Daniel Sr. ran a tight household, a military man by nature. He believed in discipline, curfews, consequences, and at first, DJ responded. He woke up on time. He followed orders. He even cracked a smile during dinner once. But it didn't last. The calm wasn't real. It was a mask, and masks always slip. It began with silence. DJ would go whole days without speaking. Then came the stares, cold, unreadable. Then the explosions, brief, volcanic, terrifying. One night, an argument erupted over something small: chores, phone privileges, No one remembers. What they do remember is the knife. DJ pulled it from the kitchen drawer with the calmness of someone tying their shoes. No shouting, no rage, just a quiet, deliberate motion, blade in hand, eyes locked on his father. No one was hurt, but something died in that room that night. Daniel Sr. saw it clearly. The boy in front of him wasn't just troubled. He was dangerous. The next morning, DJ was on a bus back to his mother. He was 17, nearly a man in the eyes of the law, but still a child in the care of a woman who'd already given up everything and was about to lose much more. Emma welcomed him back, because that's what mothers do, even when it hurts, even when it terrifies them, even when they know they may not survive it. When DJ stepped off the bus and back into Emma Browning's life, something had changed. He didn't speak much, didn't smile, didn't ask about school or friends or meals. He barely looked her in the eye. It wasn't the same boy who left, and Emma, she wasn't the same mother. She was older now, more tired, weary in a way no sleep could fix. But she tried. God, did she try? She cut back her hours again, told her night job she needed time, told herself it was only temporary, that if she could just be present, maybe he'd settle. So she stayed home more, cooked more, asked him questions he didn't answer. But DJ wasn't settling. He drifted through the house like a shadow, quiet, unpredictable, always watching. His presence shifted the air. It made even silence feel loud. Rebecca noticed first. On a visit home, she spotted the bruises on Emma's forearm, round, faded yellow and blue. Emma laughed them off. I bumped into the cabinet, but her smile didn't reach her eyes. There were other signs: the locked bedroom door, the bags under Emma's eyes, the sudden weight loss, and the way she flinched, just slightly, whenever DJ entered a room. This wasn't parenting. This was survival, and it was getting harder by the day. The house Emma had built with love was becoming a cage, and no one on the outside could see how trapped she really was. But behind those closed doors, the danger was growing louder and closer. It began with an argument, too loud, heated, echoing through the thin walls of the Browning home. Late one Saturday night, neighbors later said they heard shouting, Emma's voice sharp, frantic, and DJ's voice low, steady, full of something that made their skin crawl. Then, silence. No slammed doors, no footsteps, just a sudden, unnatural quiet. The next morning, Emma didn't call her sister. She didn't text Rebecca. She didn't clock in to work. For 24 hours, her phone rang unanswered. Then 48, and still nothing. DJ was the only one people could reach. His responses were vague, inconsistent, telling one person Emma had gone on a wellness retreat, telling another she had the flu and needed rest, telling Helen that she was just tired and needed space. But Helen knew her mother. Emma Browning didn't take retreats. She didn't ignore phone calls, and she never, ever went silent. Helen got in her car and drove through the night. When she arrived at the house, DJ opened the door, calm, expressionless, like someone answering a delivery, not facing a panicked family member. The house was clean, too clean. Emma's keys were on the counter, her car in the driveway, her phone gone. Helen asked questions. DJ gave only one answer. She's not here. No explanation, no emotion, just those 3 words. And somewhere deep in her chest, Helen felt something snap. She looked at DJ, her half-brother, and saw a stranger. The truth wasn't just missing, it was buried. Long before Emma disappeared, she was afraid. Afraid of her own son. She never used that word directly, not to her family, not to the police, but she came close. One day, while filing records during a late shift at the hospital, Emma confided in a co-worker. "He gets this look sometimes," she said. "Like he's not really there. I don't know what would happen if he ever snapped." The co-worker nodded politely, offered tired reassurance. But Emma wasn't looking for comfort. She was trying to confess something her heart already knew. DJ scared her. He had always been obsessed with rules. His rules. The remote had to be in a certain spot. The fridge organized his way. He lashed out if dinner was late, or if the dog barked too loud, or if Emma asked too many questions. It wasn't normal teenage anger. It was darker, controlled, cold. The therapist called it oppositional behavior. This school called it defiance. But none of them used the word sociopath. Not out loud, and not soon enough. Emma once found a journal DJ kept. It wasn't about music or dreams or feelings. It was a list of people who had disrespected him. Notes about punishments, revenge. She threw it away and told no one. A mother's love can blind her to danger until it's too late. And now Emma Browning was missing. And DJ wasn't answering the one question that mattered most. Where is she? The official missing persons report was filed 4 days too late. But the truth had been missing far longer. When detectives finally sat down with DJ Browning, his story cracked almost immediately. He told one officer Emma had gone on a spiritual retreat, told another she left for a job opportunity in Virginia, and told Helen nothing. He didn't ask for a lawyer, didn't ask about his mother, didn't even flinch. They sat, hands folded, voice flat, emotionless. Inside the house, detectives noticed small details first. A rug missing from the hallway, a faint metallic smell in the laundry room, a trash bin emptied too thoroughly. Then came forensics, a splatter of blood beneath the floorboards. Emma's phone wiped clean, tucked inside the couch, and the kicker, a gap in the neighborhood's security footage. One stretch of silence in an otherwise watchful street. Police pressed DJ again, and this time he spoke. A confession, partial, hollow. He admitted to an argument, said she fell, claimed panic, said he didn't mean to, but he never used the word dead, never said sorry. Just one phrase. She's gone now. Eventually, they found her, buried in a shallow grave off a rural trail, just 6 miles outside of town, wrapped in a bedsheet, no shoes, no dignity. A mother, discarded, like a secret. A son, unmoved by the wreckage he left behind. The courtroom was cold, silent. DJ Browning sat in a pressed shirt, hands folded, eyes blank, as if the murder trial before him were just another appointment on the calendar. The defense argued mental illness, said he struggled with impulse control, claimed childhood trauma, untreated disorders, emotional instability, but the facts didn't stutter. Emma Browning was dead, and DJ put her in the ground. Helen took the stand. Her voice cracked. Her hands shook. She spoke of late-night phone calls, of her mother's laugh, of the moment she knew she'd never hear it again. Rebecca couldn't come. She said she couldn't see him. Probably not like that. Not after everything. The jury deliberated for less than a day. DJ was sentenced to life in prison without parole. He blinked once, but didn't speak. No apology. No goodbye. Emma's funeral was quiet. A small plot on the east side of Hartford. No fanfare. Just flowers and heartbreak. A woman who worked 16 hours a day, who raised 2 children across 2 marriages, who sacrificed everything to give them a chance. And in the end, one of them took everything from her. If this story moved you, and you want to support the work we do, telling real stories that matter, please hit the subscribe button. It may seem small, but it means everything and helps us keep Emma's memory and the truth alive. Because behind every headline,